So let's get started then. We are also starting to record these sessions. I did not record all these introductions, but it's also going to serve as something that you guys can go back and listen to again, because this is real estate 101 and trying to just push everything out in 8 sessions to give you enough to be dangerous with, but it's still a lot to soak in, right? It's like a sponge. Once the sponge is full, everything else just kind of starts rolling off the top. So our hope is also by, recording these, you can go back and check it out. Before we start anything, especially with brand new agents, I'm really not sure how this is all working out with the state of affairs with offices being closed and such, but keep an eye out and don't forget, keep it on your calendar and on your timeline that there are real comp classes that you still need to take, a GMAR class that you need to take, in order to keep up with your license so that you can have access to the MLS. Because after, I think it's 90 days, I believe, with the GMAR one or the real comp, they'll block your access and you won't be able to get on the MLS. So keep an eye on that. I have to walk around and get my charger, sorry. Also, there's Con Ed that everyone needs to always do. Thankfully, though, our office is amazing and we have a great broker who puts together a Con Ed class every August and October. And sorry, keep an eye out for that, and sign up for it when you see it later this summer, because you do have to keep up on all these credits no matter what, unfortunately. All right, I'm plugged in now. So look out for those housekeeping items. So the next thing that I alluded to at the beginning was trying to discover what your big why is. Why are you doing this? Keller Williams is very agent-centric, and it's about building your life and your business by your design. You can't do that if you don't know why you're even doing it to begin with. So it's not just about opening a door and cashing a check. So you need to do some soul searching and get into that. So what I am about to share here, I just shared a link to our Google Drive, and that document is a document about discovering what your big why.
A little bit.
So has anybody heard of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book? It is a real estate Bible. Happens to have been written by our own Gary Keller. However, when he wrote this book back in early 2000s, other agents from other brokerages everywhere ran out and bought it and started reading it. So if you don't have it, I highly recommend that you go out and you find it. It has models and systems. Like I said, the agents from other brokerages all over the world follow to this day. It's all basics. So you should go out and get yourself a copy of that. It's got a lot of lingo in it that you will hear around Keller Williams forever. So it's a good idea. So as you read through this, how do we find our big why? These are a few questions that you can ask yourself to try to start to dig down in there. Do you have a common theme that runs through your mind every day? Is there something that gives you instant energy when you think about it? Do you know what motivates you? It makes you think about those limitless opportunities. Or is there something that drives you to be the very best that you can be? It's different for everyone. What's something that is unimaginable, but the thought of it becomes real and gives you chills? What will get you up every day and nothing can stop you from achieving it? Right? So for some people, that competitive push is what they need because they thrive on competition. For other people, competitive pushes turn them off, right? Because that's just not what feeds them. You know yourself best and you know what's going to push you. I shared a little bit about, what my initial big why was when I said that I started real estate, as a single mom, and I wanted to provide for my children and I wanted to show them that by being resourceful and committed, anything is possible. And I wanted to model that for them. And then, as I said, as my children are getting older, my why is starting to change, and it's turning into more about my future and how I want to fund my life, my future, as well as put my kids through college without being, drowned by debt in the future. Matt, do you want to share a little bit about what your big why maybe was initially and how it has, transformed over time?
Yeah. And for, like Sharon said, everyone's a little differently. When I first started in real estate, there was 20 something year olds making a ton of money. And, if I'm honest with myself, my why was things, right? It was a car, a house, a watch, or this or that, because I thought that would make me happy, or that would basically validate the fact that I was successful. And um, I have two kids, later in my late 20s, early 30s, and now I'm 38. And I'm seeing a lot of people that I know or knew that have worked very hard and in fact have made really good money, but don't have much to show for it, right? They're not necessarily happy. They're not necessarily, they can't weather a storm financially because they spend every dime that they make, right? So it's shifted my mindset in terms of what it is, why that you're doing these things. And for me, it's about providing, a legacy for my kids, providing everything for them that they need, but at the same time teaching them a work ethic, and really focusing on specifically the past few years on experiences, not things. So, trips, vacations together, memories, and things that you basically can't buy. And having, a sense of security, right? For me, financial freedom basically means to do anything that I want with whom I want, when I want. And, you have to keep in mind that money's only good for the good that money can do. But for me, if you said, hey, if money was no object, right, what would you do for a living? And I think everyone should ask themselves this question, because the answer they say is what your dream job should do. But for me, it's real estate. It's, I'd be building houses and selling houses and things. So for me, if I get to do this as my job and I get to make an endless amount of money income and have the flexibility to spend time and provide, for my family, it's just a no brainer, right? But I have to remind myself and keep in mind all of those things, right? Because this job isn't sexy. It's not fun. Sure, the wins are great, but you will lose more than you will win, unfortunately. That's not the things that they tell you in your licensing class, and I'm sure Kate and Rob didn't pitch it this way, right? And the TV shows don't do much to help us, but this is not an easy job. Anyone that tells you it's easy is either a product of a really good market or is never done it and doesn't know. This job can be incredibly rewarding, and it is very simple. It really is simple, but it's not easy. So just remember that, when you are in tough times or you're in a slump or you're, facing challenges, you keep in mind of what that why is to keep you motivated. Right. And then also the last thing that I'll say is it's really important, this exercise, into figuring out what this why is for you, because you need to connect with your clients and you need to understand what their why is. We have the beautiful ability to help people with the most expensive purchase and the most life-altering thing that they will ever do. And I don't take that lightly, right? I'm not selling widgets. I'm not selling even cars. We're selling houses. We're helping people move in to houses, their dream houses for their family. So you need to understand what that why is for them, right? Because we're not just, used car salespeople, right? We're helping people accomplish the biggest goals of their life. And if you don't understand what's motivating them or why they're doing what they're doing, you're not going to be able to be successful in that. So, there's a little sheet. I think Sharon sent it, or is it's in the coaching drive. All of this stuff is in the coaching drive. So go through this exercise and take some notes and write down and think about this, right? It's not a homework assignment where we're going to ask you to present unless you're comfortable, but I want you to really put some words into this. If you're in a relationship, or if you're married, or if you have a best friend that you console in, talk about these things with them. Because you might find that, there's a not everyone's on the same page, right? And you need to talk it through and understand what's important to them and what's important to you. And just don't go through life just the daily grind without thinking about these bigger picture things, because again, that's not going to, motivate you when times are tough.
Yeah. And I would say a lot of times the easy answer is money, right? And speaking to what Matt said, money's only good for, what it can do, the good that it can do. So if your first answer is, well, I need to make X number of dollars, try to drill down a little further and say, okay, and what would earning X number of dollars do for me? And then when you come up with that answer, ask yourself, why is that thing important to me? Right? And what would it be like if I didn't have that thing? And try to see if you can get to the root of it, because it's usually emotional in some way, right? It feeds your life somehow. I really like Matt's story about, how you grew up, with a really hardworking family and a really hardworking dad. And how, do you want to share a little bit of that?
Yeah. I had my parents were very young when they had me, and they took the traditional roles where my mom was able to stay home with myself and my brothers. But that meant my dad, put incredibly long hours in, and worked very, very hard to build a business that he successfully built and sold. But that meant that, during my early years, he wasn't around much. And, it's very fortunate because he was able to provide for the family, but the physical nature of him being there and not being there, left something with me. And, it was for me something that I wanted to be able to provide for my family in the same way, but at the same time be there, in person as well, which is really challenging. Right. So I don't necessarily trade my hours for money. I like the ability that I can go be a guest reader at my kids' school, or go to eat lunch with them, or take them to Cub Scouts, or be there in different ways. And real estate allows me to do that. Right. Whereas if I was a business owner that physically had to be at a location, or a doctor or a lawyer putting in hours, I wouldn't physically be able to be there. So for me, real estate allows me to control my own schedule, which is what a lot of people want to do. However, that typically means, because you're your own boss, that you're really easy on yourself. So I have to remember to keep that, that self accountability, right? And I have a coach as well, that keeps me in line. But this allows me the flexibility to do that, which, is important to me. So
Now we'll move on to a little bit of how a real estate agent should structure their day, right? And what are the things that they should focus on every single day? So according to Gary, because he's the guy, and he's right, there are 5 things that every agent should be focusing on every single day, somehow.
Gene, you and I talked about this, right?
Who did?
Gene and I think we
Oh.
spoke about this last week when we were chit-chatting. Do you remember that conversation?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, glad we're going over it again.
All right.
Before Sharon talks about that, I'm just curious, what do you guys think real estate agents do?
Right.
Some of obvious, some not so obvious, but I'm just curious as far as insights, both experienced and new people.
Just unmute yourself and pipe in.
No wrong answers, just
I think they make a lot of phone calls. I think they send a lot of emails, take a lot of classes, a lot of tutorials. Um, and I don't know, show people houses, drive around a lot.
All correct to an extent.
Anybody
Anyone
else?
Market themselves.
Market
With
themselves. Good. Simone.
You're on mute. You're on mute. Simone. Sorry.
Thing that comes to my mind is negotiate. I'm just always trying to, always available, any time of day, any time of night, whether I'm getting paid or not. I provide information in regards to anything that has to do with real estate. And just, I guess, one of the most important things that I think a realtor does for a client is there, listens, and negotiates. Those are my things. But as far as building my business, that's what I'm bad about. So that's what I want to hear more about, that end of it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if any of you, even those that have been licensed for a while, since you recently got your license, has anybody been inundated with different things, emails or Facebook ads or anything like that, trying to sell you things, trying to sell you leads or services, or make you think that you need to do something in order to be successful in this business?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I, remember back to the story, when I became a licensed agent selling resale, Mark and I didn't know what we didn't know. And we bought into a lot of this stuff because we thought that that's what we needed to do to be successful, right? Subscribe to Zillow and do this and that and spend money on this company that would make me a Facebook ad. And I burned a lot of cash, right? And our focus was a lot of different ways because we didn't know what we should be doing. I didn't have this type of guidance, right? But as Sharon started talking about, there's a lot of noise out there coming from even other agents, right? And I will tell you that you should never listen to someone or take advice from someone if they're not doing something that you want to be doing. Okay. Because everybody is self-fulfilling out there with what they're pitching and what they're saying that you should do, and doesn't all necessarily work for everyone or for you, or should be taking part of your time. But there are, especially now that you're early on in your career or trying to gain your foothold, there's only 5 things that you should be doing every single day in real estate. Only 5 things. And it's important to understand the hierarchy of importance of those things, as well as make sure that you're allocating time in your day, every day, to do one of those 5 things. Okay. Can anyone think of what the number one most important thing in real estate, whether you're brand new or seasoned, is to potentially do?
Make contacts, lead generate, create relationships.
Lead generate. So does anyone know what lead generating is? I know that immediately people might have some certain places their mind goes when you hear that term, lead generate. Can anyone pipe up?
Prospecting potential clients.
What does that mean though to you? What is lead generating? What does prospecting mean to you?
Getting people
Making
to contact you.
contacts.
Yeah.
What does making contacts mean to you?
Having people
Specific.
call you about what they're looking for.
Having people call you about what they're okay.
Letting people know what service we can provide, that we're agents and that we're here to help them
Okay.
on their next possible real estate venture, or again, anybody that they know in their own circle,
Okay.
their social circle.
Okay.
Create constant contact with them to stay relevant, to let, if they're not interested now, to keep them as a potential further client, future client.
Okay.
But
So-
also set a plan, set a goal for what you're going to hit every day.
Of the people that you're going to Lead
Contact.
generation. Okay.
Yeah.
So lead generating is number one, and it's number one for a reason, because no matter how good you get at social media, no matter how good of a listing presentation you can present, no matter how great your reviews are or how spectacular your sign or business card is, if you aren't finding people to speak with each and every day about real estate or about buying, selling, investing, or referring you, you're not going to have a business, right? So as a brand new agent that has 0 people in the pipeline, this is the most important thing. And as a seasoned agent who knows that if their business shut down tomorrow, this would be the one and only thing that they could do to rebuild it, lead generating falls as the number one thing to do. Now, there's a lot of different ways to lead generate, and we're going to go into those, right? But ultimately, it is what, Sharon? The definition of lead generating.
Making, I'm like, well, making contacts, but then you're going to say, define that for me, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
I think of it as finding people, communicating with people about buying, selling, or investing in real estate via face-to-face, over the phone, or digital communication.
It's any two-way communication. Well, yes.
Yeah.
It's a two-way communication where real estate is somehow brought up into the conversation.
Mhm.
So at the very beginning, it would be, you'll see I put in the chat, the database. The easiest place for you to start is with the people that you already know. And although it might feel awkward, change your mindset. You're not actually calling them to try and sell them something. It's like what Matt was saying earlier. You're not selling candles or, steaks or something like that.
Life insurance.
Right. At the very beginning, you're just calling people, checking up, seeing how they're doing, and updating them on yourself. Oh, by the way, just want to let you know, I'm jumping into this new industry, and I'm just throwing it out there. If you happen to know anybody or if you yourself are looking to buy or sell or invest, let me know. And that's enough. Don't feel like you've got to walk away from that conversation with some closed deal in your hand, because you won't for a majority of those phone calls, right? It's a numbers game. But the more people you contact and the more people you introduce to what you're starting to do now, a fraction of those will give you a referral or say, hey, I'm thinking about it in the next year, or things like that, right? And as you consistently, with a process, with a system, keep in touch with these people, and that will involve a couple of phone, like 4 phone calls a year. It'll involve some emails, and we'll go through all of that. That's how you become repetitive and at the top of their mind when they're talking with their neighbors at a barbecue about real estate and you are nowhere to be found. They know to pick up a phone, call you, text you, email you, because they remember that you're in this business. Right?
Hey, can I add something to that?
Absolutely.
So you have to do that more than one time. I can't tell you how many people said to me, oh, you're still selling real estate after the fact, after they maybe went with someone else, or, oh yeah, I forgot you sell real estate. So it has to be like 4 times a year, or
Well, 4 times a year would just be an actual physical phone call.
Okay. Yeah. Right. But just kind of keep it.
There's the whole like 33 touch, and we'll go over that in a different session.
Because myself, I hesitate to, I feel like I'm imposing myself, or I hesitate, I'm not good at promoting myself.
Yeah.
Once I get that trust, people come to me. But as far as being out there and saying, hey, I do this. So in my mind, I've kind of relied on, well, they know I sell real estate. And it's not,
I agree with you. I mean, I've found that too. And you're shocked that people forget.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
Really?
They forget.
Right.
And
especially if you're dual career,
yes,
they will forget that.
And so a point to, that you feel like you are just kind of being a pain and interrupting them. I feel the same way, or that's what my personality is like as well.
Yeah.
But all we're doing is projecting our own hesitations onto them. right?
That
So,
makes sense. That's big.
because if you started selling cars, or if your cousin started selling cars and called you and said, hey, I got a new job, I'm working at Bill Brown Ford and I'm starting to sell cars, you'd be like, oh, good for you, that's awesome, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, if you know anybody that's selling a car, will you send them my way? Well, of course, 100%. Now, you're not going to remember that in 2 or 3 months, but if you get an email from him once a month that says, hey, look at our new inventory, and you get a postcard once a month,
Right.
whatever, these new models are coming out, you'll remember. So
Right.
it's a repetitiveness, but don't feel like you're obligating them just by informing them,
Right.
right?
And something that does remind them with me, and I'm sharing this just in case it helps anybody else out. They know in the back of their mind that I sell real estate. I've had, in the last 2 months, I've had 2 families reach out to me when things weren't going well, and they wanted to bounce it off of me. So I was their trustworthy backup.
Nice.
She sells real estate, but it would have been nicer if they would have, if I would have been the one that
Yes.
sold their home, or,
Yeah.
but
But they
they
remember.
know.
Right. So the very first thing that every agent should always do is lead generate. And I'm putting these as bullet points as we talk through them in the chat, just to try and solidify it, or if you're taking notes, right? So the second thing that you should do is lead follow-up. Because from those contacts that you're making, which aren't necessarily on the phone, it could be at a cocktail party, or at your kid's soccer game, or at church, or in the grocery store because you ran into some person who needed help grabbing a can off the top shelf. I mean, strike up conversations. That's the point. From those contacts comes some sort of piece of information that's going to cause you to follow up with them. Maybe you're going to follow up with them the next day, maybe the next week, maybe in a month, maybe in 3 months. It depends on their situation, right? But lead generating will lead to lead follow up, because that's how we start to work to convert the people that we're talking to into actual clients. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mhm.
Okay.
What's
So go ahead.
Sorry, I cut off for a second. What those of us who have never been in sales, or even those that have been in sales, they don't realize is that typically it takes, I don't know what the recent stats are, probably 6, 7, and 9 times of contacting someone before it results in an appointment. And that might vary, obviously, but what that tells me is that the money is in the follow-up, right? So contacting one time and then forever waiting for that reciprocality or that money to come in is not going to happen, right? So just as important is to find those people that we can talk to about real estate, the following up with them throughout a variety of ways, both old school ways as well as technology is important.
So here's an analogy for that. My son, who's 19 now, or even my 17-year-old, last summer, you need to find a job. So he goes to wherever, grocery store. Yeah, I applied. I had to apply online. Did you follow up? They'll call me. No, you need to call them. No, it says they'll call me. Do you think they ever get a phone call back? No. It's up to you. You need to be the one that is consistently there for them, right? And sometimes they might not be calling you back right away or getting in touch because they've got other things going on in their lives. Sometimes it's just a timing issue. I mean, that's, I think, happened to all of us. It's happened to me. A salesperson will call me a few times and it's just never the right time. And then just so happens I pick up the phone. I'm like, perfect. I've got 2 seconds. Yes, I want to do this. Right. So don't let those things, don't project what you think they're thinking onto them.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that each and every one of you has multiple salespeople following up with you right now about something. Could be a car, could be insurance, could be lawn service, it could be cable, it could be a variety of things, but they're systematically following up with you because they know it's a numbers game.
And let's say the lawn service or, whatever, you're not ready, you don't want to, you're hemming and hawing, you're not sure if you want to pick them, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden one day you'll be like, screw it, I'm going to pick this guy and mow my lawn. And it's because he's the one that just kept sending you something in the mail or kept sending you that email or that text. So that's exactly what it's all about. So after you lead generate, after you lead follow up, the next thing you should be doing every day is going on appointments. Ooh, that didn't turn out right. So how do you go on an appointment if you don't have a client yet, right? There are different ways you can do that. You can acquaint yourself, and you should, with the MLS, right? And preview properties that are in an area that you are interested in being an expert in, right? Or types of homes that you want to be an expert in. Right now, showings are suspended, obviously, but we're talking about normal times. You can go through the MLS. You can, let's say you want to do Novi. Pick a bunch of houses that are in a certain couple square miles in Novi or in the whole city that you're interested in. Click them off, and a couple days a week or a couple a day. Go see them. Get to know them. And that's how you will also start to gain confidence in what's on the market, how much it costs. Is this house overpriced? Is it underpriced? What's the condition of it? Right? And then the next time you're at like a 4th of July barbecue and someone starts talking about a house in Novi with 3 bedrooms and this is how much money they want to spend, you can turn around and address it knowingly. And, you could say something like, well, if you want this for that price, the condition's probably going to be like that. But if you want this much land, it's going to cost you X. Because you've been running around and actually looking at these homes. Now you sound like a complete expert in your geographic area that you've been paying attention to. And that lends you credibility. And again, it helps with your confidence.
Yeah. Most agents, if they truly plug in and they start making contacts, and then they start talking to people, and then they get someone out and they say, I don't know what to do, right? Panic. I mean, one, that's a good problem to have. But number 2, if you're spending part of your day each and every day preparing for going on appointments, i.e. practicing what you're going to say, practicing what you're going to go over, practice into it. So each and every day. It does not mean 5 things that you should be doing when you have clients. If you talk about or do, if you had an appointment tomorrow, the answer probably for new people is going to be, I don't know. So let's talk about what that would be, right? And how you can work on being comfortable to do that and to practice that. So when the time comes, you're not freaking out. Does that make sense? So just like Sharon said at the beginning, you can do things as if you were going on an appointment now. You can pretend, you can practice, you can script, you can role play, which is things that you should be doing. So when you do go on an appointment or have an appointment, you feel more prepared. Okay.
I had to move into another room because my internet was getting a little janky and I was losing everybody.
No problem.
So, all right, you're going to lead generate, you're going to follow up, you're going to go on appointments or preview properties. And I don't know if you were talking about this when my internet was going bad. Part of that practice is also, opening and closing doors, using the new SentryLock boxes, knowing how to schedule appointments quickly and planning your routes and all those different things. That all comes from that. The 4th thing that every agent should be doing every day is negotiate contracts. Well, what are you going to do if you don't have an active client with a contract to negotiate right now, right? How do you still accomplish that? We have an amazing broker in Pete Costa, and he teaches a class twice a week that's called Pete's Forms. It's every Wednesday and Friday. At 11 o'clock, I believe. Matt, do you remember? Is it 10 or
Yep.
11? 11? Absolutely, without fail, please attend those classes. I know in the past, sometimes it's been difficult for some people to get into the office physically, but right now everything's online with all this Zoom. There's no excuse to not make it. He goes through every single form that you need to fill out. Wednesdays, if he hasn't changed his schedule, Wednesdays are on the buy side. So if you have the buyer, and Fridays is the listing side. So for instance, every Wednesday, you're going to go through every word of our purchase agreement, all the addendums that are attached to that purchase agreement, and he always goes off on tangents with examples. It's like a case study, and he will talk to you about where agents have done things right and where agents have done things wrong. You will learn what the pitfalls are. And every time you go through that class, well, so he'll go through every form, and when he gets to the end, he starts at the beginning again. I went for months when I first started, and I can tell you single-handedly that class is what gave me the confidence to talk to some clients, because I could give them real world examples even though they weren't my transactions, right? Because I had already heard about them all, and I was confident that if I didn't have the answer right away, I could find it pretty quick.
Yeah. Real estate, people love to make it very complicated. And it can be from a paperwork and from a contract standpoint, because, it's the biggest purchase, and we have to adhere to dates and deadlines and terms. But it's not just about the what you put in the blanks. Right? It's the why as well. And that's what Pete is going to help you understand, is not just the what, but the why, the dates and the terms and the this and that, what that means. And again, Sharon just goes back to taking the time each week and each day investing and understanding these things so that you become a well-rounded agent. So when you have a purchase agreement that after the appointment that you go on, you're presenting, you're comfortable, right? Whether it's a Saturday, a Sunday, a Monday night, or whatever, because you've invested time each day and each week to understand these things, right?
Yep. They provide a binder, I believe. I know physically now you can't, but what they do usually is provide a binder with all the blank forms in it, and you can just take notes all over it and keep that as your reference, right? So as we go through launch in the next couple of weeks, we are going to ask all of you to fill out a full buyer's offer. You can just pick a random house off the MLS, and you're going to fill out a whole package as though you were presenting an offer to us, the listing agents, for a home. And we'll go through it and give you feedback. But you're going to get a lot of your information and learning about how to fill that out by attending Pete's classes. And then once you do a whole buyer's package, you're going to turn around and put together a listing package as practice and turn it into us, so that at least by the end of this month, you can say that you have walked through that process of putting an offer together or putting a listing together. Make sense? Any questions yet? No? All right. So the final thing that every agent should do every day is script and role play, which is that thing that a lot of agents, except for Matt, don't love doing. They don't love doing because it feels awkward, and one of the best ways to kind of think about it is if you were to think about your favorite movie, right? Some movie that has an actor that his or her character just sucked you in, right? You totally believed it and you were in the moment. Do you think that actor made up all those words and just winged it on their own? No, there was a writer who wrote that script for them specifically to convey something, whatever that story was trying to convey, right? And that
You know, the-
actor had to practice it over and over and over. Go ahead, Matt.
The only reason why she jokes, because I'll jump into role play anytime I get the opportunity. And the only reason why I enjoy it is because I've done it so much and I've become good at it, or at least I think I'm good. When I first started in real estate, my mentor, it was the winter that I started, and we didn't have a lot of traffic on our community. And I was very blessed, still a friend today, one of the best salespeople I'll ever meet. He, the only way that he wanted to practice with me was role playing. So I would act as the customer, he would act as the customer, and we took advantage of the time that we had to do it over and over and over and over again. And I would go outside and come in the model. I'd be, why do we have to do this every time? He was building a muscle memory for me of what to say and how to respond and how to speak. That basically it just became second nature. And that's what a script is. Everybody hates scripts because they sound robotic, or they're not me, or they're not, how I would say it, or it feels weird, right? But the purpose is to memorize it so that it becomes second nature. You're just saying it without even thinking. And then over time, you evolve it to be your words and your perspective. But you can't do that until you've internalized it, right? So if anybody is around me, I'll jump into a role play just like that way. And someone says, "Whoa, how do you say it that way?" Practice. It's just practice. And
So-
if you don't allocate time to practice, you're never going to get to that point.
Do you personalize it in any way? Do you change anything about it? With it becoming
Personally,
Matt's words? Yeah.
I have my own scripts, but if you open up the script book right now, don't start rewriting them and saying, I'm gonna do it this way, I'm gonna do it that way. Read it and practice them for how they are, because they're there for a reason, right? After you've mastered it and you become unconscious about reciting them and responding them, that's when you can start making it your own. Okay. But don't dive into them and say, "Oh, I'm going to write my own scripts." No, don't do that.
So I just shared in the chat the link to this document, right? And this is all in that Google Drive that we have shared the link to you guys for. This just happens to be a specific document, but when you get into that Google Drive, there's a whole folder that's called scripts, and there's a ton of them in there. So for instance, this one would be like, "Hi, Matt, this is Sharon Prieto. How you doing?"
Great. How are you?
Good. I'm great. Thanks. The reason for my call is to let you know that I've taken on a new and exciting career in real estate, and I've partnered with the very best agents in the business at Keller Williams. I've set a goal to help 25 people and families or investors to buy, sell, or invest this year. And do you know of anyone that might be looking to do one of those things that I could call?
Gosh, no one comes to mind right now, but that's really exciting. Congratulations. I'll keep you in mind if I run across anyone.
Oh, thank you for thinking about it. I really appreciate it. Can I ask you for a huge favor?
Of course.
So I know that in the next year, you're likely to run into someone. I got to move my screen because I can't see it. You're likely to run into someone that's going to be in the market to make a move or an investment. Would you please call me when that happens?
Yeah. Is this your cell phone? I haven't heard from you in a while. Is this your cell phone?
It is. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry for not having been in touch more. And I'm going to make sure that I do a better job of that and keep in contact with you. Can I call you again in about a month and see how everything's going?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. And then you just
Boom.
turn it off.
That's a script. That's a script, guys.
It's a script.
Because guess what? If you just call someone or you start trying to lead gen and you don't have anything to say, you're going to sound just as garbled as someone who's trying to read a script that they've never internalized. Because
like I just did, because I couldn't read it because I had to move the screen around. But that's not the point, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also a script in here, if you see here on the last page, that is how to call that person that you were just referred to, right? So I could say, hi, this is Sharon Prieto with Keller Williams. Matt Marsupian gave me your name and number, and he asked me to give you a call. He said that you're thinking about buying or selling in the near future. Is that correct? Right? And then, so you just go like that. This gives you things to say so that your conversation isn't filled with a lot of ums and ahs, and keeps you on track, leading the person that you're speaking to into the direction that you want them to go, right? A lot of these scripts, or all of them, are written because they work. So in some of these scripts, you know, when you see, like in this top one, you know, where you see those all caps, call me, or in the first one, it was ... call me. Those are called embedded commands. And if when you're speaking, you give yourself just a fraction of a pause, and then you say those words, not on an upswing, right? You're not like, call me, because that sounds like a question mark. Call me, maybe? You know, you're giving them a command, call me. You know, would you please call me? It's just one of those subliminal things that starts to go into their head. So when you look at scripts and you start to see all, you know, phrases that are all caps and begin and end with, you know, the 3 dots before and after, that's what that is meant for. It's for you to know to give it a short pause and a little bit more of an emphasis, with more of a downswing in the way you're speaking, right? Not an upswing. So script and role play is the 5th thing that all agents should be doing every single day. It's a good idea to buddy up with someone that you know, even someone here that's in this group, and make time every day to just say, hey, I'm going to call you at 8:30 every morning for 15 minutes. Will you please pretend that you're a buyer? And then you can call me back and we'll do the same thing. I know it feels awkward. I get it. I understand. If you can't manage that, at least at the beginning, do it in the mirror. Record yourself on your phone, right? So you can hear your voice. And you'll start to hear things that you might cringe at, or that you might say, God damn, I'm a lot better than I thought I was, right? Listen to yourself so that you can make improvements and keep practicing on one thing or another. Practice on family members.
For
Talk
those
to
of
yourself in
you
your car.
who like know sports or like sports, I'm not one of them, but I do know that, you know, for high level athletes, millions of dollars are made or lost on the game, right? And that's where they are judged. But practice, no one cares, right? Practice is a place to leave it all out there, to try things, to get comfortable, right? No one wins or loses on practice. It's for the big game. So Sharon and I want to emphasize the fact that role playing and scripting and training and all these kinds of things are the time for you to practice and to get those bugs out of you and to feel comfortable, so that when you're in front of a real customer and there's thousands of dollars on the line, that you're prepared, right? So for all the agents, we've heard countless times, so I don't want to really practice. I feel weird. I'll wing it. I'll be all right. Is that you're risking too much. Be weird, but it works. So again, just kind of emphasize that there's a mantra. It's called "Selling is not telling," and what that ultimately means is that I say things or I tell things, right, to impart knowledge on something that is relevant to that person. Meaning that it's just as important as what you say as it is of what questions you ask. Mm-hmm. Because I think clients specifically in this industry are going to not always be able to communicate what it is that that is driving them, or what they're looking for, or what's important to them. It's your job as a salesperson to get that out of them, right? To understand what it is. So therein lies the questions, right? When I ask a lot of questions and I understand things, it allows me then to go in with the script or the line based on what they said. So if you imagine I'm trying to uncover something about someone, or why they think a certain way, or how I can help them, right? And I'm going through my mind of trying to pluck out the script for what it is that they just said, right? So I have enough of them filed away, or a way to respond to everything, that I'm only going to be impactful. And what I say is if I pull out the right script to what it is that they need to hear, right? So it's not essentially telling, it's providing the response for whatever it is that person's either objection is or what's important to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you have like 1 to 2 minutes to navigate through the dialogue to be able to understand what their needs are and what you could provide them with, so to speak.
Yeah. And it's in a listing presentation, a buyer presentation, or even a showing, it's a constant dialogue of that, of saying, asking questions, closing. I mean, it's a consistent dialogue, and that doesn't necessarily come from many people naturally. But what's interesting is that, what people that come to real estate from what industry are sometimes some of the most successful people? Would you have any guess?
Oh, from which industry?
From which industry people come to real estate from that end up being very, very successful?
Teachers?
What's that?
The teachers?
Teachers. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got it. Why
Yeah.
do you think that is?
Well, they have to understand their students and what everyone has a different way of learning. So you have to be able to understand your client. And
Absolutely.
and you have to keep them on the phone long enough, and they have to be captivated by you. So it's tricky. It's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. I mean, people that come from a place where that they know they're not doing it for a paycheck per se, that will come if they provide the value, and that they're just inherently people that like to help people accomplish what it is that they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always find that interesting. So I don't think of myself, even though I know sales skills, right, and I am a salesperson, this isn't necessarily like sales per se. It's just listening to people and providing the whatever it is that they need in order to move forward. Okay.
So, who has ventured into logging into Command so far? Safe, I know you don't have any of those logins yet.
He's like,
But you
what's
will.
Command?
I have.
Yeah, let's start with that, actually. Who knows what Command is?
I do.
Okay. Why don't you fill us in? Tell the group what it is.
Command is your, well, it's more than just your database. I'm just thinking about the contacts part of it right now, but I'm learning it. I'm new, but there's a wealth of technology, access to keep in contact. You basically set it and forget it. Now, don't forget your clients, but forget having to set it back up. With keeping in contact with emails, it's got designs for your marketing. It has, again, your database for your contacts. It has data to show you how well you're doing on keeping up on inputting information on your contacts. You can set up tasks to keep you yourself accountable for keeping up with, I guess, your contact schedule and everything else. Right now with contacts, I've been using and it's really easy to use your contacts, so that way you can keep track of new contacts. You can know how many kids they have, the names of their kids. I mean, really to get the information to really know your contacts to be able to service them better.
Yeah, so those are, yes, all things that Command does for us. So in a big general sense, What Command is a platform, right? So Keller Williams made the decision 2 years ago, about almost 3 years ago now, to invest a lot of money into creating an actual platform from scratch. From that platform, there are a lot of different tools that we can use, and it's all owned by Keller Williams. None of it is subscribed for as an extra, although those things are available for you if you want them. But in general, it's a CRM, right? One of the modules is a CRM that keeps track of all your contacts and helps touch them and all that stuff Justin was talking about. Another module is designs. Has anybody ever heard of something called Canva?
Yes.
Canva.com? So this
Yes,
is
I have.
like, it's our version of Canva. Basically, you can create JPEGs and PDFs and PNGs, and it's got all sorts of templates for you to do, like just sold, just listed, my clients love me, I love my clients, here's an event coming up, here's an open house, I'm going to make flyers for things, a ton of publication stuff, whether it be digital publication or print, right? Another module is our opportunities, which is something we'll get into later. It's how you keep track of pending business, keep track of your pipeline. There's another part in there that helps you with your website, right? So you can put together a good website that people can go to subscribe to and start searching on. There's a ton of stuff in there. So if you have not yet gotten curious and really started digging around in there, please start doing so. What we would like for you guys to do is start creating your database of names, of contacts, of those people you already know, so that you can start reaching out to them and introducing them to the fact that you are embarking on this great new cool business and part and chapter in your life, right? A lot of people might say, I don't know that many people, you know. The big thing is always, you know, pick up your phone, see how many contacts you have in your phone. If you have a Facebook account, check out Facebook. You probably know way more people than you think you know. And if it's someone that you would stop and say hi to or wave in the parking lot when you pass them at the grocery store, they count. They know who you are. You know who they are, right? Even if it feels a little weird right now, you got to start somewhere. And
It's really,
go ahead.
it's really important if you've already in your database as people that are going to buy or sell a home. All right. So, oh, my aunt, she's going to be in there forever. Or my cousin, oh, he'll never buy a home. No, it's every single person that you know, like Sharon said. And it's not about whether they are going to buy or sell a home, right? So if you compile a list of 100 people, right? And let's just say each of those 100 people knew 100 people. How many people is that? An endless amount, right? Most of my business last year came from people that I know referring me to you guys to get off. And there's an exercise to be able to, you know, kind of jog your memory in order to kind of come up with that. Because there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in the people that you already know if you really dig into it. So whether that's your phone, start with your phone, your Christmas card list. I know we just joke. I don't know who sends Christmas cards, I guess. Your wedding list, your if you recently did a big party for mom's 80th birthday, that list. And in Command, you basically house them there, and I'll say this from experience, as you're entering them, put the more information you can, the better, right? Because that's when you're doing it. And that's when I say the more information, the better. Minimum name, email, phone, address. Okay. In addition, you can put their social media tags. You can put when their birthday birthday is. You can put their house in, neighborhood that they're in. You can put a lot of different things. Entering those people in, that's also a great opportunity. Once that you're now in real estate, you want education or gaps, you can contact them and accomplish two things at once.
If you happen to be a little competitive with yourself, as you enter information for a particular contact, it will give you a percentage score of how complete your contact information is. And it was really funny. I have a friend of mine. She's a very close friend of mine. And I always had her at 92%. And I saw on Facebook that today was her birthday. So I ran into command and I didn't have her birthday in there. So I put her birthday and it popped up to 100%. And I was like, yes. So little things like that, right? So what we are challenging you guys to do through this next 4 weeks is put in 25 new entries, new contacts into command per session, right? So between today and Thursday, and put in 25 more. And as you're putting those 25 more in over the next 3 days, if you need to call them to, make sure you have some accurate information, even if you know it's accurate, call them and say, hey, I'm just making sure this is all accurate, because this is what I'm doing now. Make that contact. And then between Thursday and next Monday, 25 more. If you keep that pace up, you will have 200 people in your database by the end of these launch sessions. Statistically speaking, you will receive, if you keep in contact with your database and touch them appropriately, you will receive around 8% in transactions or referrals, right? So if you put in 200 people and you keep in touch with them appropriately, statistically, you should get 16 transactions out of them. Like Matt said, it doesn't mean that they are going to buy or sell, but they can get you to the next person. You're not expecting them to support your lifestyle, but they can get you to the next person, which does support your lifestyle, and then so on and so on. I'm going to date myself. Does anybody remember those old shampoo commercials? Yeah, Simone. Anyway, so that's what we would like to see you guys do. We're at 123. You're on mute.
Yeah. So at the end of this, then you have cumulatively at least 200 people in your database.
Yep. Any questions so far? I know we just did a lot of talking and throwing stuff out there. And I'm not sure how the recording's going to go because sometimes the internet was a little unstable on my end. So we'll see. It's going to look a little weird, but we're going to put this up there. Remember, go through that Google Drive link and just poke around. Go to Pete's forms. Are you guys all members of the private Facebook group, both for coaching and for the Market Center? There's 2 of them. Make sure you do that. Both groups provide a lot of information, and especially right now, there's things that are changing every day, new classes that are offered every day. Get on there so that you have the most current information on what the offerings are and all these Zoom links, right? Because the ALC,
What's the name of those 2 groups?
one of them is, hold on, let me look it up, Facebook.
Yeah, I don't know them either.
One is KW Advantage private group, KW space Advantage. And the other one is KW space Advantage coaching mastermind. If you go back to that original email that invited you to all the launch sessions, there should also be links on there to those. But just go onto Facebook, search them, request membership, and you'll get approved. So all the members of the ALC, of which Matt is a part, are also conducting online Zoom classes for all sorts of stuff. It's really very interesting. Everybody's sharing how to get creative and stay in the right mindset and get a bunch of these things done. So I encourage you to tap into that and take advantage of it.
So in the meantime, take a look at the Google Drive link that was sent in an email. If you haven't received a welcome email because you just joined us, literally, you'll get that shortly. Join those, just start looking around in there. There's tons of resources in. Log into Command, start making yourself maybe a spreadsheet or a list of usernames and passwords for things, because you might start getting, well, I don't remember Real Comp, I don't remember Command. Make sure you have all of your usernames and passwords somewhere that's accessible for you, and start putting people into Command to your best of your ability, and be ready to get in. Starting Thursday, we're going to get into the meat. Yeah, this was kind of just like a primer a bit. So I appreciate you guys who've been here for a while coming back in. It's a great refresher. This is the time to do this, guys, to sharpen the saw and to learn new skills, because when this is lifted and the floodgates open and we can go and show houses and finally go on appointments, the people that took advantage of this time to learn are going to be successfully able to do that. So thank you guys for showing up for yourselves and for us and coaching, and we're here forever whenever you need us.
Forever.
Not forever, but both myself and Sharon are working, so you don't have to wait until Thursday. If you have a quick question or something like that, feel free to call, text, or email.
That's
yeah.
it.
So welcome.
So
Thanks,
we'll see-
guys.
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
So Thursday, same time, same place, right? And in the meantime,
Yeah.
any other questions, let us know. All right?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.